The crisis affecting Canadian broadcasting became deeper today. The CBC announced it would have to lay off 800 people because of a budget shortfall. In Ottawa, the chairman of the CRTC admitted the broadcasting industry is in desperate need of a systemic solution. And he said fees for carriage might be a solution.
The model for conventional television is broken.
Anybody who works in the business who says they are not afraid is probably either naive or they're probably lying.
We're not able to do a story because we didn't have the manpower.
In more difficult financial periods, such as now, everybody cuts back on everything.
I come in at 7 o'clock. I see what's going on in the wires. I, check if there were any overnight incidents. It could be fires, accidents. I have to make the initial calls for any stories that we may need for 9 o'clock. By around 8:15, the producer, Barry Wilson, calls me up and we go over the assignments, So basically that's where I do my pitch.
So all of the stories that people are covering come through here. I think you've already talked to our assignment editor, but anyway, the assignment editor sits here, the researchers sit here, the camera coordinator sits there, and basically together during the day they're setting up stories and they're making calls and they are sending out cameras and they're assigning reporters and everything. So this is basically where the news comes through. It's all generated from, and then it's kind of like a spoke system. So from here it goes out to the reporters, it goes to the lineup editors that put the show together, help write the show, the writers, the anchors, whatnot.
Yeah. Like I said, I studied journalism, but when I came here as an intern, I thought I would be in front of the camera. And I soon realized I don't like being in front of the camera. And that's why I'm really glad that I'm a researcher, because I get to help the reporters, I get to be really involved in doing news, but people don't see me. I'm behind the scenes, and that's just fine for me.
News gathering, local news gathering, is an expensive process. When you think that you have reporters, you have cameras, and camera people, you have technical people, you have editors, okay, and then you have your on-air staff plus your on-air plus your studio crew.
Come on over here, I'll show you. This is where you guys are going to be seeing some of the meetings today. This is I guess our news table, whatever you want to call it, our conference table. So whenever we have story meetings, lineup meetings, meetings about special reports, special coverage, it always happens here.
We'd also call public health today, just see what's going on with the flu. I know a lot of people are sick.
My family.
We can send a camera over to kids. Put his kids on TV.
We do have people in assignment, we have people in research, we have people in lineup who do these jobs, but ultimately it has to go through me for final decisions on. And the job is such that during the course of a day you might be called upon to make 20, 30 different decisions about how you're going to be covering a story, whether you should drop one story, give more emphasis to another story. If it's big enough, would you put 2 reporters on a story? So you're always weighing, it's always a balancing act, how you prioritize the stories and prioritize your day.
All right. Caroline, I will put her on the class action suit on the sexual abuse, alleged sexual abuse at Notre Dame.
I oversee the entire news operation. I'm in charge of the entire news operation, so that involves all the managerial aspects, budgets, hiring, firing, and then the overview of all the editorial and sports and public affairs news that we do. Anyway, we don't have enough reporters, but there's a couple other good stories out there. The Health Canada study about breastfeeding. And there are a lot of challenges economically, as you've seen, not just at CTV, but media organizations and especially conventional television having a pretty tough time because advertising revenues are down dramatically. So that's affected us. We've cut back. We've trimmed our budget overall, and we've canceled one of our 4 news programs. Our early morning news was taken off the air a couple of weeks ago, so that's a pretty big blow to us and to our viewers. in order to try to save some money. And as you probably know, there's a lot of activity with conventional broadcasters like ourselves trying to convince the CRTC to somehow level the playing field to help us do a little better financially and hold on to what's left of our local news.
The CBC layoffs are probably today, so maybe we should try to find out how it's going once it happens, if there's something concrete, so we can mention that on
Do you want to do that as a live with Maya, or is that something just...
Well, you know what, actually we might get a DNS piece about the private broadcaster, about the CRTC chairman being before the Parliament, and I'll bet that they maybe would mention on the same day that CBC laid off, so let's see what happens with them.
So we have an assignment desk that they basically consists of an assignment editor on any given day and researchers. And those researchers will research a story for the day and assign it to the reporters who come in at a later time. Reporters are given the chance to come up with stories and think of stories. But really it's quite a hectic job when you come in and you're assigned the story. It pretty much takes the full day to do it. So really you're thinking of stories on your own time.
Over here is the lineup show producer area. These are the people that put together the shows, line up the shows, what order the items are going to come in. They help do some of the writing as well.
When I present my lineup at the table, generally people go along with it. They seem to be okay with it. You'll see typically that people will make a point about placement of a story in the show, and by all means, that's all part of the meeting, the production meeting process, you know. And but also during that production meeting process, you'll find that somebody will come to you with a story that you missed, and that'll be an important story that you want to add to the show.
Stories that matter to people, stories that affect people in their daily lives, information that they need to know. For example, a story that we had been on one story today, and then another one broke about this class action suit against pharmaceutical companies for cough syrups. That affects a lot of people. Everybody takes cough syrup, and especially to do with kids. So that's the kind of story that we'd be very, very interested in doing. So that's a populist sort of approach to the news.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Plans for a class action suit against makers of children's cold medication.
Paul Karwatsky is following the story today. And Paul, the consumer group here is now asking for the public's health in terms of going ahead with this lawsuit.
That's right, Saad. They're asking people to preserve any packaging associated with any of these medicines that may be geared to children under the age of 6, and then to contact them with that information. Now, for that contact information as well as more information on this story, you can indeed access our website.
CTVMontreal.ca. Thanks very much, Paul. You're welcome.